Hey, Susan Palmer here, and this is my weekly studio update. The tune that I played up front was Joy Spring by Clifford Brown, and I posted it a few days ago on Instagram, and I wanted to share it here just because I thought it had some elements that people would enjoy, and I broke those elements into 4 sections. So the first 8 bars I played drop 2 voicings on the top 4 strings, trying to create a little melodic movement there. The next 8 bars I played a walking bass line with some chords, and the next 8 bars are the bridge of the tune. I played a little solo, and then I finished off with the melody of the tune. And I have a few students working on different concepts, so that seemed like a good tune to share with that breakdown so that you can kind of, or they and you, can get a good idea of how each one of those elements works. So this week, what I was thinking of doing is kind of showing you how to use the major 7 jam track. So I've got a ton of jam tracks on my YouTube. I encourage you to explore them all. And one section that I'm really proud of is the jazz warm-ups. And I actually made a whole web page of those, and I'll post it in the links below for you. And I've got like 5 different really common jazz chord progressions in there. And what I did is I broke them down so that you also get a workout on the single chords that make up those common chord progressions. So for example, the first one up there is a 2-5-1, very simple but very popular and effective chord progression. And so it's got the minor 7 chord followed by a dominant 7 chord and then a major 7 chord. And I go through all 12 keys of that, but I stay in each key for 2 minutes. So we can get through all 12 keys in roughly 25 minutes. There's a couple little breaks in there for you to rest your hands. And the idea is that it helps you practice so that you're less likely to be distracted by your phone and other things going on. So it's just 25 minutes, 2 minutes on each key. You get a good workout on all of that. So underneath that, I've got, those single chords, and I want to demonstrate a couple ways that you could use the major 7. And of course, you could translate this to all the other exercises and all the other chords that are on there as well. But I wanted to break this down into different levels. So I have a lot of students who, when they start with me, they're really trying to learn the notes on their fretboard. And that major 7 exercise is actually really helpful for getting to know the notes. It's staying on each one of the major 7 chords for 2 full minutes. So you could go through it and try to find, all the C's on each one of the strings, or all of the thirds, which would be the note E, or all of the fifths. So following those chord tones in there. And while you're doing that, while you're playing those different notes, you could listen to how each one of those notes sounds over that C major 7 chord to really try to get some good ear training in there as well. You could sing them. Speaking of ear training, that's always a good method to enhance your understanding of the pitches there. So you could also do licks on that. You could do licks in 5 different positions for the cage scales So anyways, I just want to kind of demonstrate how that might sound and look. And so here's the C major 7 chord for 2 minutes. So we can start by just playing, playing all the C's. And that might be as far as you get on that C major 7. Maybe for the 2 minutes, that's what you're doing. You're just finding those C's, locking them in. That's great. If you're a little further along, maybe you want to find all of the E's, And when you're playing those E's, you would want to be listening. How does that E sound over that chord? Just really trying to categorize and, get used to playing and hearing those thirds. You could do the same thing with fifths, playing all of the Gs, and all of the Bs as well. So all 4 of those chord tones. So that would be a good way to practice. You could also think in terms of scale patterns. So, I could play, here's my, A string root major scale pattern. You could just try to pull out the root notes or the note C from each one of those patterns there. That would be a really good way to practice that. And then another thing that I do with students is try to teach them some language that is associated with each one of these chord types. So like one of my favorite licks is, and it's very chord tone centered. I start with the 5th, which is the note G. I play G flat, F, E flat, E, and then C. So you might have to know the names of the notes for that. And that's something that, you could practice in the different positions as well. Just try to see, how many different places you can play that, in that 2-minute time frame while that chord is going on. And I think that's a really effective way to practice. There's no distractions, and it moves to the next key once you work all of that out for the key of C. Speaking of that, our chord jam just ended. Now we're moving on to the key of F. I don't even have to touch it. It's just going to the next key. And so now we're in the key of F, so you may want to find, take a minute and find all those Fs. Then you could find all of the A's, all of the C's, all of the E's, if you have time. But again, if all you get to is the F's on there, that's fantastic. Because could you just imagine, like if you practice this every day for, a couple weeks or so, even if you're just pulling out the root notes, it goes through all 12 keys. So that means you're getting to know all 12 notes. And I think that's a really helpful way to practice. I'd love to hear, if you try that, hear how effective that is. But the thing is when you're practicing that, what I really would encourage you to do is listen to how each note sounds. Like really, try to mentally lock in, what does the 3rd sound like? What does the 5th sound like? Maybe try to sing as you're playing. But anyways, that's one way to use those tracks there that I think would be super helpful for every guitar player. One of our main challenges on this instrument is, figuring out where we want to play the notes. And, if you've got those notes mapped out, you get to make those choices. So, maybe you like this F down here a little gritty, on the D string, or you like it up here a little more mellow. You've got these options and you can make that artistic decision based on, a true decision that you're making, not just, well, I know F is here, so I'm going to play it there. That's a great place to start, by the way, is just knowing it in one place and then kind of building it out. So I'm hoping that that's going to be really helpful. And, I tried to design all of these jam tracks to be really helpful. That's why I'm a big fan of going through things in 12 keys and, really trying to get you to be creative with how you can use these. It's basically like a 25-minute practice timer, which I think is really helpful as we're all very distracted by our phones and, other obligations and things. But, if you got 25 minutes, I think you're going to get a lot done. So next up, I'm going to follow this with another video I posted on Instagram this past week that is just kind of telling you why I'm trying to get your views on those videos. So number 1 reason I wanted to do all of these is to help my students. Number 2 reason is to help other guitar teachers, students, and other guitar players and other instrumentalists. And number 3 is, I'd like to get to the point where I can monetize this channel. And well, anyways, you'll see what I want to do with that here in a minute. So thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting, liking, sharing, viewing, all these things. The viewership is great just in terms of getting to that goal of monetizing. But honestly, it makes me feel good and it makes me want to do these more when I get that positive feedback. So thank you so much. I hope this helps. Be in touch. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Hey, Susan Palmer here, and I'd like to ask your help with something. I've got this idea to help make music education more accessible and also to help other teachers earn a decent living while teaching. And here's the deal. So I'm an affiliate for Amazon and for TrueFire, and I use those funds to help my scholarship students. So when students can't afford my full tuition, I have another income avenue that I can use to help fund that. And I was just thinking, so I've got this YouTube channel that's up, and how cool would it be if I could use some of those funds when that monetizes to give to other teachers so that they have money in their scholarship fund, so that when they're working out of this book with some of their students who might not be able to afford their full tuition, they've got another income source. So my ask for help is to, one, let me know if you think this is an okay idea, and two, if you could head over to my YouTube channel and check out some of my videos. I've got tons of playlists for all different levels that I think would be really helpful. So thanks.